All right, so I've had plenty of time to sit around and think these past few weeks and into Thanksgiving. And I think as your life slowly falls apart around you and you realize how little you really had to begin with, because until I tossed out the most recent round of people who were at most acquaintances, I hadn't really thought about what I actually do for entertainment. And the whole video yesterday around video games led to this guy leaving this comment. I'm just gonna talk about the last part. Anyways, I personally love gaming as my personal diversion of choice because I found it to be the most fun and satisfying diversion life has on offer currently that I've tried. I do also do productive stuff like draw and write, but to relax, gaming is definitely my go-to pastime. I wish there was more meaningful stuff out there, but such is the dull, unsatisfying state of our modern world. I mean, I agree. In a lot of ways, when I turned to gaming, those 12 years where I played Call of Duty every day, there wasn't any other choice. It was either sit in the room rental that I was very unsatisfied with, or just stare at the wall. I burnt out on reading in college because I was a literature major, so it meant that we had to read nonstop some days, and it really just tired me out. But when I think about the things that I'd like to be doing, I feel like my whole life is being wasted away doing things I don't want to do. Like today, I've got about 55 minutes before I've got to go do some legs at the gym. After that, I'm going to come home, find something small to eat, and then I'll work on another video. At that point, I should be ready to go run some errands again, and then I'll come home. I won't come home. From errands, I'll probably go out to some outdoor setting and do a live. I'm going to try to pick a different place. I think I'm going to go to a different park today just to give it some diversity. Also, I feel like I'm seeing the same people at the park all the time and they're wondering what I'm doing. Anyhow, let's get started with today's video because there's quite a few talking points. A lot of these are going to sound a little repetitive, but I'm going to try to give them a different twist. So, modern leisure often prioritizes distractions over connection or growth. Activities like binge watching, gaming, or scrolling social media provide temporarily, but rarely leave us feeling fulfilled. So, what I do at night is after I've had so many cans of Pearl beer, I'll just sit there and wait to see what YouTube, the algorithm, thinks that I should be watching. And a lot of the stuff that I'm watching at night feels really strange, right? It's stuff I normally wouldn't watch. Like last night, and I have very few memories of it, I was just scrolling through fitness inspiration videos from female YouTubers that had a lot of subscribers but very little viewership. Like I saw a channel last night that had 500,000 subs, and its latest video had only a couple thousand views on it. And then I saw another video by a guy that only has 700 subs, and the title of that video was "No One Likes You," and that video had like nearly 10,000 views. So we're not understanding what's going on with the algorithm and YouTube right now, but there's definitely something changing there. And in my opinion, it's because they don't know what their audience wants. We're bored. We're bored with social media, just like we burnt out on reality TV shows. You got to a point where everything was a reality TV show, or in the video game industry, they have so many simulators, right? Every video game is a simulator. It's a simulator for people who can't afford to do the things that are being done in the video game. And last night, I had some strange dreams. Like I remember telling the characters inside my dream, it's like you're not real, and then I would point out at the AI generated backgrounds, right? Because our brain is the ultimate intelligence that generates figments in our imagination, right? So when we go to sleep, our brain has to invent entire videos that we watch inside of our head. I wish we could download our memories because I've had some really, really intense dreams that I would want to look at to see what the symbolism in the dream. And for me, in this dream, and again, sleeping is the ultimate form of mindless entertainment. I've met a lot of people who, rather than being awake, would rather sleep. I remember I used to sleep and then get bored in my sleep and then go to sleep in my own dreams, where sometimes I would go to sleep inside my dream and wake up in another dream and then wake up in another dream and have to work my way back through the dreams until I could wake up again. But it's that, and I'm not going to use the word that I want to use because it's a cop out. I think our feelings of being unfulfilled were the point of dreaming, right? It's not only just to recharge your batteries, but also to have something to do. Because in my dreams is the only time I've gotten with Susie Rottencrotch, and last night it was so intense. Like I was walking through a building where I was searching for my French tutor from when I was in college when I was 16, and I kept seeing her, and she was just too far away. Oh, no matter where I walked into this room where they're having this giant party, like Diddy party kind of thing going on. And then outside of it, I got approached by a robot, not just any kind of robot, a getting it on robot. And then there was a robot sitting on her back, and then there was another artificial. It kind of seemed like a Westworld thing, right? I remember reaching out and touching her and thinking to myself, "You're real." And she's like, "Yeah, but you can only get it on with the robot." And so I got it on with the robot. And then at the end, I was like, "How about, is it your turn now?" And she's like, "No." And so I was like, "Well, too bad." So I knew she was also a more sophisticated robot. So it didn't matter. And then suddenly I reached for her and then she vanished. Very, very intense dreams. Of course, full of symbolism for my own life. But it goes to show how unfulfilled our daily lives are. I haven't had a conversation with another human being in real life in a very long time. And I don't include cashiers. Anyone that you pay, it doesn't count. Cashiers and physical therapists and massage therapists, any of these people, chiropractors, any of the people that you see that provide you a service, right, a medical service or any sort of, again, anyone you pay, that doesn't include in conversation. I'm talking about a person that you genuinely meet, they call you by your name, and you spend time with them in a relaxing setting. I haven't had that in a very long time. And for me, the last time that I had a serious conversation with another person, and this is how shallow my encounters are with other people, I was in college and I was talking to a professor about what I was going to do after graduation, whether or not I was going to pursue a higher level degree at a more prestigious institution, because I had spent the last 4 years doing research at grad level for my history degree, and this was I was still doing history work in independent study while I was finishing my English literature degree. That's the background that I come from, and so as an academic person, being forced into this life, right, this mundane, unfulfilling life, your brain doesn't know how to function. I think that's been the hardest thing, is to integrate my society, integrate myself back into a society that doesn't value academics in any way. I will never stop being an academic person because I spent half my life becoming who I am. And now that this is all that's available sitting in my dark roach infested apartment, and the reason why I keep bringing up the roaches because one just climbed on my arm while I was recording. That's how bad it is in here. And these are the circumstances of the proletariat Hanoi Hilton. That's all it is. You may have uh, the freedom to do whatever you want, but you have the slavery of what your paycheck allows you to do. The people that you can talk to, the access to low level entertainment. And this is why I did the video on video games yesterday, because it's the lowest form of entertainment. Other than sleeping, video games is the lowest form of entertainment. You get to live vicariously through some character that's going through an impossible mission that it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. I mean, Tomb Raider reminds me of the one of the games that I played that was like that. It wasn't one of my favorite games. I never liked strategy games or open world games. I've always I would say a free for all player, and Call of Duty was where I had my best times of my entire gaming experience because it was just you against everyone else. You didn't have to depend on a team to help you. You didn't have noobs on your team. You didn't have all the things that drag you down. But at the same time, it was very, very repetitive. Anyhow, enough about that. So let's move on to my second talking point here. And I wrote these talking points from two different perspectives, right? The first talking point, which is nearly all of them, which is four out of the five talking points, was written from the point of view of a very wealthy man who is who's struggling with loneliness and finding something to do when he's already done everything. This talking point is written from a very young woman who's incredibly poor. So let's see how that changed. Analyze the quality of modern social interactions, such as group outings or nightlife, which often feel performative rather than meaningful. So this was kind of different than what the male one was for the same one. True connections come from vulnerability and death, not from the noise of crowded rooms or shallow exchanges. So this is taking into account how you have to put on your phony face to go out in public. You don't want to go out in public and talk about how you really feel. You don't go out to a club, you don't meet up with your friends to tell them that you're depressed and sad and lonely, that you're broke and that you can't afford to buy drinks. Because I've been there. And I remember clearly going on a hiking trip with a small group of people. And afterwards, the small group of people stopped at a restaurant on the way back from Sedona, and I had no money. I was the only person sitting in that restaurant that just had water. And you feel the shame of being in a group when all you can afford is water. And that was one of the main reasons that I ended up stop. I just couldn't do it anymore. You had to pretend that you're not poor. You have to pretend that you're not hungry. You have to pretend to be having fun when no one in the group has anything entertaining to say. If you were to stop and walk out, if you were to be able to turn yourself invisible and go into a nightclub or a social setting, any place where people are gathering for alleged fun, you would see how shallow their connections are with one another, if any connection at all. Because what I've found is that if you don't have the ability to connect with a person on a much deeper level when it comes to conversation, then there's nothing there. One of my favorite things to do in college, and this is something that I will always miss from college, is I was very attracted to extremely intelligent, tall women, right? So I could usually in a room, just like teachers can, right? You know, every teacher, professor, instructor that you're going to meet in your life is going to be able to evaluate the intelligence of every single student in that class. It's not just about how well they do on their exams. It's your interactions with them. And we do this with people all the time. So I would seek out the person that I found to be the most intriguing. And obviously, sometimes there wouldn't be any interest back. I mean, I would say that half the times. It's like, A asked me yesterday, it's like, why do you, oh my God, I have another roach climbing on me. Oh my God, that's so disgusting. So A sent me a message yesterday. Basically, I think she was a little drunk and probably mad because she asked me point blank in the stream yesterday, why do you not like women? And it's like most of us have had so many negative encounters with women that we become jaded. And so in college, this was something that I had to become accustomed to. Sometimes people didn't want to talk to you. And so you would be like, well, I really like the way you look and I think you're really smart. And they're like, I'm not interested. And when that starts happening to you on a regular basis, you know what it does? It causes both men, especially men, and women to stop trying. So instead of having those deep, meaningful conversations, you're having very shallow conversations while you're at a bar where people are talking about dumb things. I once had a math tutor, tell me that people only talk about two things when they go to bars: getting it on and and drinking. That's kind of the how shallow our relationships were with other people. And at the time, I was very young. I was probably my junior year of college because I was still trying to get through. I think I was just about to start Calc 1, and I was taking the class prior to that, which I think was finite something course. Math was never a strong suit of mine, just because I didn't have any math until I got to college. But I remember thinking to myself that, she was much older than I was. I mean, at least 5 or 6 years older than I was, and she obviously was taking advantage of the fact that, I was very young man and she was a very attractive older woman and she could charge me whatever she wanted for math tutoring. But anyhow, in those very few conversations that I remember, I don't, I probably saw her 20, 30 times over the course of a few years while I was getting through math. And that's the only conversation that I remember having with her. None of the other, like I remember like her face or vaguely her face. But yeah, that's all she ever told me. That's the only advice I ever held on to from her, is that conversations in public are very, very shallow, and meeting people who you can talk with for an extended period of time are not going to happen very often. In fact, as my outside of university, I've had very, very shallow conversations. In fact, with most of my acquaintances, I think about the last time that I went out with someone. We went to a restaurant and then we came back to my house and then she left. And then I didn't talk to her for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however many weeks it's been. And she messaged me again last night asking if she could come over, and I just turned my phone off. It's like she messaged me earlier in the day, like at 1 o'clock. I think I was in the live stream when she messaged me the first time, because she doesn't understand that it's over. And I know a lot of it's going to have to do with her finding a reason in order to get back, because she doesn't have anything going on in her life. And I think that's another reason why we have such shallow exchanges of information, because sometimes we don't have anything going on in our lives. And therefore, we meet other people who they don't have careers and they don't have meaningful relationships with their family. They don't really have any friends. This is the person that told me that all her friends are really trashy. Anyhow, I'm going to try to get to my two other talking points, so this video might run a little longer than normal. So, entertainment and leisure have become industries designed to keep us consuming rather than creating or reflecting. From gaming to social media, these activities are tailored to capture attention and not enrich lives. So, I'll tell you this. Last night, while I was browsing YouTube at whatever hour of the night, while three sheets to the wind, I can tell you that it wasn't even capturing my attention. It was definitely not enriching my life. It was just too, like I remember the last video that I saw that I have any memory of, and it was just, I'm gonna say, 25-year-old girl and very, very revealing gym wear, and then her friend, who was, I would describe her as frumpy. And their exchange was going back and forth. You could see both of them filming each other on their iPhones. And this is, that it's not, you know, it's not really entertainment. It doesn't pass the sniff test for entertainment, in my opinion. But when it comes to keeping us consuming, I 100% agree. Because corporations, I was watching the Epic Economist last night, and he was talking about 15 restaurants or businesses that are not going to be around in 2025. And you know what? Watching that video, and I know this is a bit of a tangent, but all my videos are tangents and rants. I've been telling you guys this for years and years and years on this channel. I don't know how long I've been telling you guys this, but the overall quality of the food and entertainment in our society has diminished by at least 1,000%. Well, you know what that means? Corporations don't stop being hungry just because you no longer find them entertaining. If you're not if you're not consuming what they have, then they've got to change it up, right? They've got to change it up. And the number one that the place that I saw that I have told you guys about, I even showed you guys the receipt and the food on this particular restaurant, which is Rubios. One of those videos that I made, I showed three over dried tiny tacos that was $18 at Rubio's. The last time I ate at Rubio's, it's the same person that I'm trying to get rid of right now. I picked her up at her office, and her office was right around the corner from Rubio's. And I get to the end of the meal, and she asked me, I was like, "Oh, how was your food?" And I looked at the owner who was standing at the counter, or general manager. He was looking at both of us eating because we're the only people in there. And I look at him and I said this food was too expensive and it was nothing but rice. And he just glares at me like, oh my God, you're another dissatisfied customer. I bought a giant burrito that was just all white rice and little tiny individual nuggets of meat in there. And this was supposed to be a carne asada burrito. And I was like, well, this was very dissatisfying. And she just looked at me again. Most people that are out there don't understand how diminished their quality of life really is. But these corporations know, because if you had this many businesses, these are just the businesses that made this list, right? 2025 for corporations is going to involve a lot of tweaking. Their models for getting into your pocket are going to have to get more devious. And the reason for that is, as I said, they have a need. Rich people can never be satisfied with being rich enough. They're always looking for another way of taking money out of your pocket. And subscriptions are a great way. Sometimes I'll look through my bank statements and I'm like, what? What am I paying for? And you kind of, and then you try to cancel it, and there's, you're trying to cancel it, and it's like the button doesn't exist. Like Amazon's been in trouble on many times for making it difficult on purpose, not only to cancel things, but also to return things. I also learned don't put things on subscriptions because they won't let you return anything on a subscription. Anyhow, I just thought that was a fascinating video to watch. And, you know, I know there's some of you who don't like the Epic Economist, but he states facts. Sure, it's over dramatic, but we know these places are all going out of business for one reason alone: their customers aren't consuming. Well, when it comes to video games, every single year, Call of Duty is the number one selling game of the year. Guess what? People aren't playing it. Do you know why? Because they're tired of it. It's become one of those cliche things in our society where the only reason I got the last Call of Duty game is because it came with my PlayStation 5. It was that edition of Call of Duty, which normally, at least from what I've seen, Xbox and PlayStation, when your console is marketed with that particular game, they give you the game. Switch, Nintendo does not. I was actually taken aback by this because I bought my Nintendo Switch when the new Zelda came out, and I was like, "Where's the game?" And so I went back to GameStop and I asked, "Hey, it's like, where's the game?" I bought the console with the emblem of with the Zelda emblem on the outside of the box, and he's like, "Dude, you got to buy the game separately." And I was like, "Oh my God, why would they do that?" Profit. They don't make anything off the game if they include it when they sell you the console. Again, they have to keep you consuming, consuming, consuming because that's the only way that they can stay alive. And I was talking to someone the other day and I said to him, if you want something to go away, just stop paying attention to it. Just don't watch it. I mean, sometimes you have series on HBO Go or Netflix. If people watch it, they're going to make a second season or a third season. But if people aren't watching it, as I've said, if there isn't profit, why would you do that? Why keep a grocery store open in a neighborhood where everyone's broke? All right, so here is my last talking point. The fast pace of modern life has turned leisure into a race for instant gratification. That's the problem. Instant gratification is cheap. You know why? Because it's easy to get. It's like the marshmallow experiment where you have delayed gratification. In this case, I'm not going to use education for delayed gratification, but you get what I mean. You delay getting a reward in order to get a bigger reward. Well, we live in a society of instant gratification. I'm bored. Okay, let's turn on Netflix and binge watch it for 8 hours. And I met people like that. I remember asking my friend Brooke in college, "Hey Brooke, what did you do last night?" "Oh, I watched, Netflix till 3 o'clock in the morning." And then I'm like, "Brooke, what did you really do till 3 o'clock in the morning?" And she just grabbed my shirt and she's like, "Don't tell me because I'm ashamed of what I was doing at 3 o'clock in the morning." And you know what it involved. It involved the eggplant and it involved her pie hole. That's all I'm gonna say. But instant gratification is what most of us reach for. That's why they make so many toys for adults these days because it's instant gratification. Okay, I'm done. Now, let's see, what am I going to do next? So, let's say it's 8 o'clock in the morning, it's Saturday, and you've got nothing to do today. So, you pop in something, boom, you pop off. Then you think about what am I going to do next? Well, I want to eat something. And then you go to the fridge, you microwave something disgusting, or you drive over to, let's just use Taco Bell for the most disgusting food that you can buy. I have had nothing but horrible experiences with Taco Bell in the last 6 months. If I want to destroy myself, all I have to do is go through the Taco Bell drive through. And I know people say it's like, oh, it's because you're old. No. Taco Bell, when I was a kid, used to taste good. Taco Bell doesn't taste good anymore. And I'm going to say that life used to taste good, but no, life has never tasted good, but now it tastes bad. Life actually has a bitter taste to it now. When you think about Susie Rotten Crotch and the pink taco, you have a bitter taste in your mouth. It's all trout. And when someone like A asks me that question, what do you have against women? It's like, what do women have against men? What do women have against low quality men that don't have anything to do other than to sit there and play with their joystick all day and look at the screen? Oh, look, I leveled up. Who cares? Every time I think about how many, all the Call of Duties that I had up until Black Ops 4, I prestiged to the highest level. And as I was doing that, every time I reached a new prestige, I was like so proud of myself, right? Oh, look at me, I have a new prestige badge. Who cares? And I think that's the way that women look at men right now. It's like, well, what do you have? Oh, you're driving that 20-year-old Honda Civic? Oh, who cares? You got that crappy job that means you can't buy me anything? Who cares? You're not very attractive, you're short, you're awkward, you're a little autistic, you're a little maybe something else. Your OCD is driving you crazy, but you think you deserve a chick that looks like this. It's not going to happen. And it's just like, to me, looking at those women, especially where I'm going to be in half an hour working out, you look at those women and it's like watching a very expensive car drive by. You can look, you better not stare, but you can look at it and know for a fact that if you lived forever, you still would never be able to afford to drive the car. And when you look out in the parking lot and you see your beat up Geo Metro from 1995, and you're like, well, that's what I'm driving today. And then you look over at the girl that's giving you the eye, and you're like, ugh, yeah, I'd rather go home and play with the joystick and see what prestige I can get to today. All right, so this video was all over the place. I didn't really know what I was going to talk about. I started working on this video an hour and a half ago, and I'm just barely getting to the end. It's one of my longest videos ever. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.